Hello, another Wednesday with Pastor Mark from the Word of Life Fellowship Church here in Omaha, Nebraska. I hope your day has been good. Depending on where you live and what time zone you're in, I hope your day will be good, has been good, will continue to be good. Nevertheless, today we're going to look at Psalm chapter 30. There's a particular verse in this psalm that is often quoted, but I'd like to take just a few minutes and talk about the reason for this psalm. David, the psalmist, writes this psalm at the dedication of his house that he built. As an aside, I saw something probably 2-3 months ago. I don't recall the name of the program, but as you know, well, if you don't, they're constantly doing archaeological digs throughout the Middle East. In particular, I'm referring to inside the country of Israel, even inside the city of Jerusalem, in the parts where the city was oldest. And they found what they believe is, in fact, David's house. The house that David built or had built for his personal family, for himself. And, it's older architecture, different ways of doing things back then. They didn't have central air and central heat and indoor plumbing and all those things. But it was kind of remarkable, the parts that they found, if in fact it was David's house. The reason they thought it was there was an inscription carved into one of the rocks that they uncovered on the stairway, I guess, if I'm remembering this correctly. I could be wrong. And it said, in so many words, these are not the exact words, and more or less it said, "This is David's house," or "the owner of this house is David," or something to that effect. I don't recall the exact verbiage. But if that was David's house, when he was dedicating the house, so this would be at the conclusion, and there goes the cat again. I love her timing. We have to put the cat's dish up to keep the dog from eating the cat's food. Welcome to my life. Sorry about that. And we'll probably hear some crunching in the background, some timing. Snickers the cat. One day I'll tell you a bunch of stories about that. Anyway, so David has the construction of his house is complete, and he has a formal dedication, and he writes this psalm to commemorate the dedication of his house. And he's reflecting in this psalm on several pivotal moments, events, happenings in his life, even times when God healed him and saved his life. And as he's reflecting, no doubt, he's thinking of some of his failures and how God forgave him. And this verse, chapter 30 of Psalms, verse 4 and verse 5, verse 4 starts as he's concluding, giving God praise for keeping him alive, that he didn't die. And he says, verse 4, I'm reading from the New King James translation this morning. "Sing praise to the Lord, you saints of his, and give thanks at the remembrance of his holy name." Verse 5, "For his anger is but for a moment. His favor is for life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." David is speaking from personal experience. And it's precious. Now that fifth verse, the phrase, the second half, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. I have heard that. I cannot tell you how many times throughout my life, in my lifetime. It's very popular because people can relate to it. But I want to point at the first part of verse 5. For his anger is but for a moment. His favor is for life. What do you mean, David? Was God ever mad at you? Yeah. David did a horrible thing. Absolutely a horrible thing. When he arranged for the death of one of his own close companions, one of his mighty men, because David had a fling with that man's wife, and she's now pregnant. And he's trying to hide his sin, and ultimately has the man put in a precarious position in the battle on purpose, hoping the man dies. But he wouldn't be the one that did it. It would be the enemy in battle. But God looked at that as David committing murder, because he was responsible for it. And he has a prophet, Nathan the prophet, come and call him out on it. And David is in a bad spot, and the Lord is not pleased. He's angry. But David repents and falls on the mercy of God, hoping God would have mercy on him in some way. And the Lord does. And David is reflecting, I believe, on that moment as well as others, where the Lord, in this specific instance, where the Lord was angry, and how that felt when God was angry with him, and how that felt once he realized that. And yet, God's mercy. His favor is for life, he says. So because he had the favor of God prior, God didn't lift his favor from him despite his sin. Wow. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Now later, in the same psalm, forgive me, I'm scrolling down here. Sorry. There it is. Verse 11. You have turned for me my mourning into dancing. Mourning includes weeping, being sad and sorrowful. So because that joy comes in the morning, because God's favor is for life, he turned his sad time and eventually into dancing. And you have put off my sackcloth, which was something they actually put on, was a garment they put on in those days in the culture they lived in, to show they were mourning, that they were sad. Perhaps there's a death in the family or something. You have put off my sackcloth and clothed me with gladness. To the end, meaning this is the reason you did it, that my glory may sing praise to you and not be silent. And David concludes the psalm by saying, O Lord my God, I will give praise to you, thanks to you. I will give thanks to you forever. Before he moves into his house officially, he dedicated his house and had a solemn occasion and wrote this psalm that so many countless numbers of people over the generations have heard, recited, or read for themselves, that the sad time they're in, calling on God, God is faithful, and joy is coming in the morning. So if you are going through a hard time today, whoever you might be, a difficult time in your life, maybe your friends have left you, your wife has left you, your husband has left you, your kids are abandoned you, you don't feel like you're useful, you don't feel like anybody cares. I'm here to tell you, call on the Lord, and that sad time may endure for the night, but joy is coming in the morning, and you have the favor of God in your life, and you're going to be joyous and dancing once again instead of being sad. Well, God bless you. I hope this touches and blesses you today. Look forward to seeing you at the Word of Life Fellowship service on Sunday morning at 10:30 at the True by Hilton, right behind the Scooters, and now Wiener Schnitzel at 72nd and Haskell. God bless you. Have a great day.